What is today? It is Friday in Colorado, and we are being treated to an interview with our neighbors, Miki P and the Swallowtails, a group out of Kansas City, Missouri. Um, we are joined today with Michaela, Rachel, and Addie, and they're going to play a few songs and talk about Kansas City music scene and a few other things as well. How are you all doing?
Great.
Doing good.
Awesome. Well, I want to start with a little bit about you three. In my limited internet research about you and my limited interactions with you, it seems that you're all rather integral parts of the Kansas City scene. Is that correct? Would you say that is correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So how did you three how did you three come together as a group then?
Well, Rachel and I knew each other first because we went to college together and studied classical music at the conservatory at UMKC. But then Rachel and Michaela.
Yeah, and I met Michaela at a jazz
Big band.
and I knew her boyfriend because we went to school together. So it all just kind of started to connect the dots.
Yeah.
Which I feel like happens a lot in this scene here. Like, it's very collaborative. Everybody's like, oh, I want to play with you. I want to play with you. Okay, let's put something together.
Yeah.
It's about the large cesspool of just mixing.
Yes. Yeah.
That's fantastic. It does seem like your group is almost a collective more than just a band, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It makes it fun to collaborate with each other just because everybody's opinion is out on the table and we can say, okay, yeah, we like this idea, we don't like this idea. Most of the time we like all the ideas.
Yeah.
And we all have such versatile backgrounds, and each one of us, because we're so involved in the Kansas City scene, we're all involved in such different kinds of music as well. So I feel like we bring so many different flavors to the table as a trio.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
That's fantastic. So how did you fall on the name the Swallowtails?
Well, my first solo album was called Dome of Swallows for the Bird. And when I was like putting together a band, like with, like the idea was to have people that would be like, in the group and not just kind of like people that can make it when they can, it just kind of made sense to call it the Swallowtails. Because it's like the evolution, from the bird to the butterfly, and then the butterfly's got its own beautiful evolution, so we're just kind of like in this phase.
That's awesome. I like that a lot, actually. Just the imagery that invokes. How Michaela, a question for you. Are you primarily a vocalist or a guitarist, or how did and the songwriter of this group, and how is that
Good
how's that
question.
dynamic?
I mean, I really consider myself an instrumentalist first, just because that's kind of how I formed my identity. I was a drummer for like 6 years in a group, and like that was my thing. I wanted to be a drummer forever. And then I think I really started taking singing seriously when I started performing.
Mm.
And yeah.
Do you still play the
I,
drums?
yes, I 100% play the drums. I'm actually gonna play on both of their solo records, so I'm gonna be behind the drums. So.
Awesome. Did you play the drum tracks on your album?
No, I did not. That was a drummer here in Kansas City. His name is Fritz Hutcherson. And he's incredible multi-instrumentalist as well. He plays like guitar, banjo, drums. He sings. He plays bass. So he's just like a good musician to have around.
Yeah, everyone always needs a good drummer, right?
Yes. That's like yes.
And just overall amazing human.
Oh
yeah.
I feel like everybody needs a Fritz.
Yeah. Because it's just so easy to work with him and like bring him in, and he's so willing to help in any way.
Yeah.
And have fun.
Yeah.
We love Fritz.
Fun is the most important element, I think.
It is.
Definitely in playing music. Rachel, I want to ask you about the bassoon. I've always thought that the bassoon is a very interesting instrument, and I've never really heard it outside of like a jazz quintet format. So I think it's really interesting that you have incorporated that into what is essentially kind of folk pop music, if you'll allow me to label you as such. And so is that the only instrument you play, and how did, I guess as a follow-up, how did you start to incorporate the bassoon into your songwriting?
It's so bassoon's my primary instrument. I also play piano, and I've played drums before, and sing a little bit too. But I've really always wanted to be a rock star.
Who doesn't?
That's for a disco ball, so
Like a disco
like
ball.
literally. A disco ball. That's how amazing.
That's how you're
that be. But I've always had a love for music outside of the classical world, and I had an opportunity to play with Michaela. She was just like, "Come over to my house and we'll figure it out." And I've at that point never improvised before, never played anything that wasn't written on a page. And so I started branching out more, improvising, and then decided to go back to school to get a master's degree in jazz. So
Very nice.
I'm currently doing that.
So you are employing the bassoon in a jazz way.
I am.
Okay. Well, more on. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't like to go on one single path. I like to go on all of them.
I can respect that. Okay. More on the bassoon a little bit later. Addie, I was playing a cello, right?
Yes.
I almost said upright bass, and I'm glad I caught myself.
It looks
It
really
kinda
big
looks
on
from
this
this
screen
angle.
right now.
On the screen, it looks enormous, and yeah.
But my cello teacher recently informed me that I also have a very large cello, which just went right over. I have no idea that was the case. Yeah. So it could be either. You never know.
Right. Well, I was going to ask, do cellos come in necessarily different sizes?
Yes, they do. So this is a full size cello, the biggest kind of cello that you can get, and that's pretty much industry standard for professionals to play on a full size. But my teacher plays on a 7/8, which is more of like a niche size. Like only a couple of people have it, and I probably should have one because I'm a pretty short person. But I also have an emotional attachment to this instrument. Yes, cellos come in many sizes.
Would you elaborate a little bit on your emotional attachment to the instrument?
Oh yeah, I mean it's been with me. It was a gift from my mother, and I feel like you develop sound on an instrument so specifically, and this one has been with me through some very, very difficult times in my life, and I really believe that instruments are living, breathing beings that we breathe our own life into, and that we develop relationship with. We bond with them, and because they were once living, especially wooden instruments, and that's at least how I view it. So I feel like it would take a lot for me to give up the life that I have breathed into this instrument. So
I like the idea of transcendence with emotional transcendence with the instrument. That's a good way of putting it, I think, particularly as a performer and your relationship with audience, right?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, let's hear some of your music. I'm excited. I'm sure the audience is excited. So what is the first song that you're going to play for us?
So the first song we're gonna play is the first track on our album that we released, called "Right Where We Are," and the song is called "Not Mine."
I was gonna say faster.
Huh?
Faster. Okay.
Faster, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna have to get in that mindset. Okay. So, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. I remember what you said when you lied to me. I was 16 then, young and naive. You're wrong. Always pouring out your mouth. Could never be grateful for me looking out. And someday, maybe you'll look back and wanna feel sorry for all the things you said and you did that hurt me. You wanna walk? That's okay. I'm just building up my walls these days anyway. Yeah, I'm gaining back my heart and all its parts. Figuring out that I'm counting on miles too slow to recognize all these parts you tore out of me. Under your care, I became more aware of your abuse of mine. It's not mine, not mine, not mine.
That was a delightful little song by the name of, again,
Not mine.
Not Mine. That was very good.
Thank you.
Love the bassoon solo. Nice touches on the cello and wonderful vocals from Michaela.
Thank you.
I want to talk a little bit about the Kansas City scene and Kansas City as a city. I've personally never been to Kansas City. Hope that doesn't end the interview right now, but but tell me a little bit about, you touched on it a little bit earlier, about the integral nature of it and the strength of its community. And if you would just, any one of you, expand on that a little bit.
It's
Well,
one of those like hidden gems, Kansas City. I mean, I'm not originally from here. I'm originally from Florida. Moved here for school and ended up staying here just because I love the music scene here so much. We talked about it before, but the best way to describe it is just this massive bubble of collaboration.
yeah.
Everybody, you go to shows and you meet people and you're like, oh, I want to play with them. I like this person as a person, not necessarily what instrument they play, whatever. I just want to play with them because I like this person. And that's, I feel like, how a lot of groups are formed in town.
Definitely. And I feel like you find the people that you love to work with, and so many times we just flip the tables on who's doing what.
Mm-hmm.
Like each one of us plays in the other's projects in a different role. And I find that, like what you said, that if you want to work with a certain person, you find a way. You find a way to make it work, and I think that's why Kansas City is a town to really be on the lookout for, because we're really innovative with how we approach music, and we don't let genre define us, and we don't let our instrumentation hold us back in any way. I think it elevates us, and we're just like, all right, well, you play bassoon, I play cello, play guitar, we're gonna make a band. Yeah.
I always thought of Kansas City as a blues and a jazz town, which clearly there is a jazz scene there. But
There's a pretty big blues scene here too. There's a lot of bands in the blues scene that go on to the that big blues competition. What is it called?
is it called Big Blues Competition?
Maybe. No, I forget the name, but like, yeah, there's a pretty big melting pot of genre here.
Interesting. Yeah. So Colorado in general is pretty widely known for its distinct, or maybe not distinct, folk scene. And I'm not complaining, but it does seem like we have an inordinate amount of folk bands coming out of Colorado. It does sometimes blend together. So I do think that diversity is really important. How do you find the scene in Kansas City? Is it to be diverse or no? Could it improve?
I think it's really diverse.
Yeah.
Like you could probably, like, on a non-pandemic night, you could probably, like, okay, I'm talking like before pandemic. You could go out and there would be any genre you'd want to see, or like any style of performance also. Like, we don't just have like music performances. There's like dance, and there's theater, and there's poetry. Like there's so many options here.
And any given night too. Like, you on a Tuesday night, you can go to a spoken word thing, or go to singer-songwriter show at a coffee shop, and then later that night go to a jazz club and listen to jazz.
Yeah.
On a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something always going on, not during the pandemic.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
And each part of the community, like even within arts as a whole, I feel like we all are really itching to collaborate with each other.
Yeah, like the mixing of the mediums.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we really see that in like our DIY communities, and on all of the albums that come out. I feel like we really rely on each other for every facet of our art, and I feel like we use local artists for our album covers, and we use our local graphic designers for everything, and it's very cool to see everybody working together, and it is a really diverse scene.
What is recently on a recent episode, we talked to an artist who's from Denver but has recently relocated to Nashville, and they talked about accessibility for not only musicians but also for audience members, and how a big difference between Nashville and Denver is that there is a widespread music culture, not between just musicians and collaborations between musicians, but also by the audience, and how people are constantly going out to see music. And that's not necessarily untrue of Denver, but it's the ideas are different. I'll encourage our audience to listen to that episode if you want to hear more about that. But my question for you is, what is accessibility like? And we'll go with like a non-pandemic idea because I have a follow-up question. So what is accessibility like for the audience between, and not just for musicians?
I think it depends on what you're going to see.
Yeah. I would say it's definitely there are venues in Kansas City that everybody knows, like, this is a music venue, this is a music venue. And when people travel to Kansas City, they will go to those venues. But it's hard for people traveling through to just know, to like integrate themselves in the local scene. Because there aren't a lot of venues promoting a lot of that.
Yeah, it's kind of like
It's like, I feel like it's a lot of the musicians that are supporting other musicians to go to their shows.
Yeah.
And then there's like a following that will come through.
Yeah, we have a really interesting aspect because like there's like the metropolitan Kansas City, and then there's like a bunch of suburbs. And I think most of the questions we're trying to ask when we're like promoting stuff is like, how do we get people out of the suburbs to come to our show? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's
Sure.
kind of a little bit of a disconnect there.
So do you have an answer for that? How do you get this suburban populace to come to your downtown shows?
We pop in their DMs. You know what I mean? I mean, truly, like, I think asking people individually and point blank being like, hey, you want to come to my show? And then that, I think there's a sense of like wanting to close the gap from social media and actually ask people like, hey, will you come?
Yeah.
And I think when we do that, things become way more successful.
Yeah.
But it is challenging though to get people from the suburbs, because it is the KC metro area has, we have different districts throughout all of Kansas City, and the most popular one is the Power and Light district, and that's like our downtown. And that's where the suburbs flock to.
Yeah.
And we have people coming from all over Kansas and Missouri, and each one of those different places surrounding Kansas City has a half-hour drive. So it's like we want to cater to making an experience that's worth the half-hour drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the venues that do support local music, they are kind of spread out. It's not like, you walk down Nashville on, what is it, Broadway? Rose Street?
Oh yeah, what's the main street in Nashville?
I think it's Broadway.
Music Street.
But you walk down the street and go into any place and there's music.
Yeah.
You definitely have to seek it out more here.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not dissimilar from how Denver kind of functions. Fort Collins, I mention a lot on this podcast, but Fort Collins has more of that type of structure, more of the Nashville type of structure, where there's a lot of live music, there's a lot of musicians. The general populace that lives there is really into local music and supports it. So, but in Denver, that's a ongoing battle. Promotions is always hard, and it's something that every local artist fights with, I think.
Yeah.
So my follow-up question is, how are you functioning in a pandemic? How is Kansas City's music scene functioning in a pandemic? Is it functioning?
Well,
I think we have found ways to thrive. In Kansas City.
Yeah.
There have been creations of amazing outdoor venues like Lemonade Park and the Black Box Theater, which we got to play at earlier in October. And I think artists are really, really becoming even more innovative than ever.
Yeah.
And luckily, as we spoke about earlier, the whole arts community is a community. And so I see visual artists supporting musicians and musicians supporting visual artists. Like, we are all coming together, watching each other's live streams, buying each other's art as much as possible. Like, I feel like we have really
fallen back on each other.
Back into community.
Well, and even going from the technical side of things, like, we were trying to figure out how to do a live stream, and we had to ask a bunch of people because me and technology, no good.
Really good at it though.
You really are.
But like,
You managed to get this interview hooked up, and sounds good. So
we're going back to like leaning on each other. There's a lot of people helping each other out as far as like, oh, hey, try this. This is what I did for my live stream, because there are a lot of people hustling in Kansas City as far as doing live streams.
Yeah.
Definitely.
yeah, that's essentially how musicians are trying to survive here too, and it's rough. It's like I wonder. Let me pose the question to you: do you feel like live streams have been more or less successful than playing regular shows?
I think for us, like, definitely it's not as successful as playing a live show. When we're playing live shows, we're able to perform in a different way and have that interaction with the audience. And not only that, but like sell merch.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
we cannot sell merch right now.
Yeah.
And we just released an album in August, and we haven't really been able to. When we're on tour and performing, it's so easy for us to just sell CDs.
Right.
And right now we're not able to do that, which is a majority of our income for shows.
Yeah. No, I get it. It's I think that bands in general, a lot of the revenue comes from selling products, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, when you can't be there to push it, it's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the live streams are more for us because we want.
We want to play.
I think it's a good thing to do. Sorry, go ahead, Addie.
Oh, sorry. And letting the world know, hey, we still exist.
Yeah, we're still like
We're still here doing
this.
stuff. But our social media game has, peaked its highest just because we've had to.
Yeah.
Because we really wanted to.
It's
New mediums.
it's almost like we're hitting a second level because everybody's forced to be virtual, or second level of
Yes.
social media integration in society.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, let's hear another song, and why don't you tell me what we're gonna hear now?
Yeah, so we have released or we did release a music video for this next one in December. Wait. Mhm.
Earlier than that.
Early December. Well, we did we have two music videos. We have the actual music video, and then we did an acoustic live version
Yeah.
that we released in January, and then Imperfect we released in December.
Yeah. So we're gonna play Imperfect, and it's got a pretty cool music video, so you should go check it out on our YouTube. All right, ready? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. My apologies. This world isn't fair. I wanna know if I'm retaining information brought down by the stars somewhere into my blank stares. I'm having a hard time concentrating, waiting around. When I fall, I finally get there. The beauty in my flaws. I'm a mirror in a world full of imperfections. Who gets to decide? Do I people don't understand that, never will. I'm just having a hard time concentrating, counting the days till I fail. Days and days and days and days and days and days and days. The beauty of my flaws. I'm a mere world full of imperfections. Who gets to decide? Do I'm making my mind overthink, overwork. Can't I be kind and shut it off? Shut it off, so I can live my life. So I can live my life. So I can live my
Very nice. That was good. I like that song a lot. I want to ask a little bit about your songwriting process, and maybe you can talk about that song, which was called what, by the way?
Imperfect.
All right. How you come together and write these songs? What does that process look like? Do you start with lyrics and a riff or a harmony, or how does that work?
Yeah, so I typically start off the songs at home, whether that's just me with my guitar, the piano. I just sit down and like kind of like vomit the words out. Not literally though, like with my pen
Right.
and my journal. And once I like get to a song that is really strong and has got like enough parts to it, I'll bring it to the band, yeah, and then I'm like, I have no idea what these instruments do, so like, what would sound good? Yeah.
Very
We
nice.
did a lot of arranging for this last album in the studio too when we were recording it.
Yeah.
Did you find that you restructured it all once you were in the studio from what you had already written?
Like,
I don't think the cores of the songs changed. I think that there were just maybe some stagnant parts that needed to kind of be like the water needed to break through a little bit. And I mean, we were in the studio for a whole week when we recorded this album, this last album, this most current album. And like the first 2 days we just did like drums, bass, and I was like doing scratch, guitar and vocal with the drums and bass.
Mm-hmm.
And the next 2 days were cello and bassoon. And I think like those 4 days were really crucial for a lot of like the parts that you hear from the cello and bassoon.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Rachel and I spent the whole first day with a keyboard in front of us and billions of snacks and listening while the rhythm section and Fritz like laid down all the drums and bass and stuff, and Rachel and I just sat on the piano and plucked out parts for like hours and hours and hours and figured it out. And that's pretty much verbatim what you hear on the album too, is everything that we sat down and played on the piano.
A couple songs we've arranged before, like
like
just
I think
hanging out, and we'll say, oh well, this sounds cool, and then you know, Addie will say, oh let's try this. Okay, so then we play off of each other, and it helps because we play an orchestra together, so we know how the textures sound together and what we can create. But there was one of the song on the album, Sarah, we were just, it was the first day Michaela showed it to us, and we were like, okay, well, we played around with it, let's just kind of record a demo. And so, you know, we had our phone out and did a voice memo, and there was this moment that Addie and I just locked into this peak, and just this beautiful line came out. And so
Perfectly in sync.
perfect, it was just perfect. And at the end of playing it, I just looked at her, I was like, did you feel that?
Literally, we have the voice memo of us playing this line that still exists on the album.
Yeah. So,
exactly as it was.
Yeah, so we were in the studio listening back to that recording. We were like, okay, we need to figure out exactly what we did and transcribe it, and that's what ended up on the album.
That's great, and I appreciate that story. Sarah is actually one of the songs in your album that I don't know if you're gonna play it. I know you only got one song left, but I was hoping that we'd get to hear that.
We could totally do it.
But I don't want to step on your toes in that regard.
I'm totally happy to play it for you.
Twist my
It's one of our favorites. So.
It's a crowd favorite too. I feel like the people that really listen to our music and like listen to it, they always have something to say about Sarah.
Yeah.
Where do you find you draw your influences from? This is maybe a question. We'll start with Michaela. When you're sitting down and you're writing your lyrics and writing out your melodies, where do you bring your inspiration from?
My soul. I don't know. I mean, most of my songs are just like journal entries, and like I listened to like a lot of Beatles growing up, and I think probably at my core that's just like hardwired into me. I could sing any of the harmonies, Paul, John, George, like just choose one, I got it. But I listen to a lot of like classic rock and stuff, but I've gotten way like into like folk songwriters of the same generation. So like I just love like taking my inspiration from artists who I can like, they're like like I feel like I could have a conversation with them, you know.
Who is one of those artists that you feel like you could have a conversation with?
I mean, probably like I don't know. I would feel maybe a little intimidated to like have a conversation with like I don't know, like Joni Mitchell or like Bob Dylan or something like that. But like, yeah.
You mean that you wouldn't drink a case of Joni Mitchell?
Okay. I mean, if that was an option, I would like pay for that. I would be like, how much now? I will do it. I would drink a case of hot pork.
Who wouldn't, honestly?
Yeah, I know.
What about Rachel and Addie? How about what are some of your influences?
Definitely, I think right now, it changes over time, but right now a lot of my influence just comes from jazz and a mixture of like classic rock, because that's what I grew up listening to. I mean, I was always quizzed in the car from my dad.
Yeah, me too.
About like, okay,
who's
the
band?
guitar? Stress me out a little bit, but I think those, and then just a lot of pop bands. Like one of my favorite pop bands is like Street Dive. I just love the way that they arrange their songs, because I mean they have a trumpet player, and so I think of how can I fit like that into a setting like this.
A brass section always adds so much to a band, I think.
It does.
Not to take anything away from celloists, bassoon players, or vocalists and guitar players, but a good trumpet or saxophone is always a welcome addition, or trombone, that too, or any other of the horn section. I'm not going to go there all the way, but okay, Addie, what's give me, I don't know, 3 of your favorite artists from different genres.
Oh lordy, yeah. Okay. So my answer is all over the place. So
Good.
my biggest musical influence of all time is the Indigo Girls, and that's what I really feel like I bring to this group is like I really love to bring that really intricate like harmony writing for background vocals. Like Amy Ray was my number one crush for my whole life, and so like I'm trying to channel Amy Ray forever and ever. And I hope you hear this. I love you. Yeah, so that's like what I want to be. I want to be Michaela's Amy Ray. Vocals. And then like as a performer and a conceptual artist, I am a diehard Lady Gaga fan.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
of course.
Lady Gaga is huge for me, and I feel like there's like the third answer is gonna be the hardest of all of them, but probably in terms of like synthesizing music, it would be like a tie between like Stevie Wonder and Jacob Collier. So.
Nice. I had the pleasure of seeing Stevie Wonder at Red Rocks
wow.
two years ago. Yeah.
What the
Um,
heck?
Wow, amazing.
yeah, it was pretty special. And kind of almost accidental. I volunteer for the Denver Film Society, and they put on primarily a film festival, annual film festival, but also an event at Red Rocks called Film on the Rocks, where local bands are featured, and they open for a movie, like timeless classic movies like Top Gun or Ghostbusters.
Really cool.
Yeah, it's a really great event. And I'm fortunate enough to get some perks from volunteering for that organization. One of them was being able to go see Stevie Wonder.
That's a huge perk.
Yeah, yeah, it was. So switching gears a little bit, I just wanted to quickly, or not quickly, maybe ask you about how you all feel about the future of live music. We're in a time of fluctuation, maybe, and the future is a little bit in doubt, as particularly for live music, as we've already touched on. But how do you see this next year or two going? Do you see a change in how venues are organized and how live music is organized? We talked a little bit about live streaming. Do you see that being a bigger thing down the road? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think that it's never going to go back to the way it was, at least for a long time, the foreseeable future, the next couple years. I see shows coming back like this summer and this fall, at least outside and socially distanced. And I think like online is going to be how artists break it these days. I mean, like you see how TikTok has totally like changed the music industry.
It's true. Yeah, that's a real phenomenon, huh?
Yeah. Truly.
Yeah.
I mean, we literally just had a meeting. Like, we're gonna have like TikTok specific days to like film TikToks.
And
Of you as a band performing.
Yeah.
Performing and
Creating all kinds of content.
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
So I think that's just where it's gonna be, is like through your social media platforms. And
Yeah.
I mean, you can really reach the world that way, though. You don't have to like travel. There's no like expense. You can be right at home and be reaching anyone from anywhere, maybe even off of Earth. But like, as we know, like we're only really reaching humans right now.
I mean, I think I'm pretty hopeful as far as this summer and fall, as you were saying, being able to do live shows outdoors, is that there's going to be an appreciation for music because everybody's like so
live
cooped up
music.
inside.
Yeah.
And I think people are just going to really appreciate it more once we're able to play live shows.
Yeah.
In a safe setting.
Do you think that touring is going to be as important?
I think it could be.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are lots of places all over the world doing amazingly socially distant outdoor music venues that can be, I feel like that could be open to people from all places as long as you're really, really careful. I think that's the really big thing, is that we have to make sure that we're protecting our communities when we venture outside of our own, because that does increase our danger. And yeah, I think there are plenty of opportunities for us to continue to meld communities and to share music
Yeah.
in different places as long as we're doing it safely.
Yeah. I mean, I would prefer to tour rather than spend a 2-hour meeting doing TikTok videos.
Hey, why don't we do both?
Yeah.
TikTok's on the road.
I mean,
TikTok's
I can see how a lot of bands might be able to find ways without having to tour, but I think it's just something that we love doing.
Yeah.
So we would want to continue doing it if we could.
Do you think that, I guess just as a quick follow-up, do you think that the reach is greater through social media, or do you gain a bigger reach with your music still by touring?
I think that there's two ways of doing it. Like we definitely gain followers on the road that I think like are more permanent followers.
Lifetime followers.
Yeah, because they're like, I want to follow you because when you come back, I want to see you, or like I want to keep up.
Or the face-to-face conversations that you have with people being like, wow, it was so great to meet you. Here's my Instagram handle.
Right.
You know, like those connections last so much longer than somebody stumbling across your page.
From like a hashtag or something.
Yeah.
But I think you can get it more like in volume if you're doing it that way. Like if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Right.
It's definitely harder to get to know people on a personal level.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. We're all facing that challenge these days. Okay. Let's hear your third and final song. Whatever you're gonna play. What are you going to play?
We're gonna play Sarah.
Oh, awesome.
By request.
I appreciate that.
Only because we were talking about it, and also when we were talking about it, I wrote that song while it was like snowing, and it was like 2 a.m. and I had just got like a burst of like creativity, and my partner was out on the road, and so I was like home alone, and I like set myself up in my dining room, and it was snowing, and I turned off all the lights in the house, and it was like there was like just like this perfect street light shining, and you could like see the snow falling. And the other day that was like happening, and I like saw it, and I like, my dining room's completely different. I have like plants in front of that window now, so it doesn't have the same atmosphere as it did when I wrote it. But when I like saw that like image, I just had to kind of look and be like, whoa,
Deja vu.
that caused me to write that song. And I just like felt, I didn't write a song again, but like I refelt
Sarah
that
part
moment.
2.
Sarah part 2.
Sarah, the sequel.
Okay, that's via TikTok. Okay. I also don't know if I've ever played it on this guitar. Is that too high?
No, that's right.
Okay. Might just have a little bit of a ring. That's okay. It's got character. Oh, okay, sorry. Like, let me do it.
Me too.
I know the heat is like right there, and it keeps shutting on and off.
Actually, a show that so far that we played in Denver was like we were so out of tune.
Because it was so cold.
Because the temperature dropped like 20 degrees. I'm not even exaggerating. Like it was something.
Oh, yeah.
like that.
Like it was like, oh yeah, we're gonna play a fun outdoor show, and like we were not prepared for this at all. Like
No.
we were not wearing clothes.
Because it was warm when we came in. It was like 60, 65 degrees, and it dropped to like freaking 48.
That is a big thing here, where the weather can change dramatically in 5 minutes. I think the most dramatic drop I've experienced was a 50-degree drop from about 70 degrees to 20 degrees. And it just because the altitude change off the mountains here can just cause so much havoc with storms coming in, and it's weird. You can see these storms on the Front Range building up over the mountains, and you're like, are they gonna come? Are they gonna come? And sometimes they never do.
Really?
And they just like break down over the mountains, and sometimes they do, and then it's like, oh, hell breaks loose. But yeah, it's that I understand what you're saying. It's a tough thing to deal with, and you kind of learn living here. You learn to like dress for all seasons and layer up, like, because also when the sun goes down, doesn't matter what time of year, when the sun goes down, it drops like 10-15 degrees anyway. So
we push through.
that's good.
I think we went thrifting the next day to buy jackets.
No, we went thrifting
that day.
Hour of.
Oh yeah.
We did, because we wore our new cool jackets.
Oh, that's right. That's right. All right. So here's Sarah.
Sarah, you've been spending so much time on your Sarah,
this guitar like has one tuning, and it's from the 60s. That's like the permanent tuning that it's in.
So channeling some Joni Mitchell there, right?
I mean, kind of, yeah. This is my great aunt's guitar, and I like she's her and my nana were definitely like listening to Joni.
There you go. Yeah. Well, thank you for accommodating my request.
Thank
It was
you
very
so
nice.
much. Thank you for having us.
Of course. Thank you for being on. This is really fun. Do you have anything to add before we go?
Well, we did just release those music videos, so if anyone's interested in watching those, you can head over to our YouTube channel. You can just find it under MIKI space P. Or you could visit MikiPmusic.com and like watch some music videos and also like buy some merch if you want.
We just had a big night of making lots of cool new t-shirts, which Rachel is sporting this evening, and tote bags.
Yeah, we have
Awesome. Well, we made it through an entire podcast without a single F-bomb, despite your excitement of being able to say that.
Say it.
Of course.
3, 2, 1.
Fuck! Awesome.
Thank you all so much. Until next time, thank you for listening. Everybody stay safe, wear a mask, social distance. We'll get through this together. Looking forward to when we can open things up and see you all play live, hopefully in Colorado.
Yeah. We'll
All right.
let you know when we're coming through.
For sure. We look forward to it. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank
Until next
you.
time.